Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which our OP met an a-hole on the bus while on patrol on his shift. Oh my gosh, some people. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Yes, I am security. I recently got a job as a plainclothes transit security rover. My job is to take buses around my area and keep an eye out for people evading fare, loitering on transit property, refusing to properly wear a face mask, etc. I was waiting to get onto one such bus when I noticed a male patron approach another patron and began harassing them over the rainbow pattern face mask and backpack they were wearing. I approached the belligerent man and asked if there was a problem. This was the conversation that ensued. Me is obviously me, and BP is belligerent person. BP, do I look like I have a problem? Me, well, you started harassing this other person there for no real reason. Transit company name has a zero-tolerance policy for that kind of behavior. BP, so what are you going to do about it? You're just a rider. I pull out my badge with my transit company-issued ID featuring my picture. Me, actually, sir, I'm a transit security officer from security company name. I'd like to warn you that continuing to harass other patrons like that may result in denial of service or trespass for up to a year. BP, you can't do that. How am I supposed to get to work? Me, I'm not doing anything yet, sir, but next time you really should think about how your actions may have consequences. Transit company is a private business, and they're under no obligation to serve you. BP, whatever, jackwagon. Maybe I should just Uber instead. At least there I won't have to deal with F-words. He grabs his bag and storms away, leaving me to go about the rest of my shift. And our second story. I'm a lawyer, so I know my rights. This happened back when I was working at a toy store in the mall that's part of a chain that also has standalone stores. Even though we didn't have an electronics section like the standalone stores, we did have a four-sided rack that had video games for Wii, Xbox 360, PS3, and Nintendo DS. I forget which version. It being a toy store, we mainly carry games that were rated T and below, though we did carry a few that were rated M. I'll be referring to the people that partook as follows. Me is me, Mark equals my supervisor, boy, and his father. F. On this particular day, the only ones on duty were myself and Mark. It was a rather slow day, being a weekday close to summer. A boy of about 10 walked in. Normally, we don't allow children in the store unattended, spacing for lengthy aside. This wasn't official store or corporate policy. There were just a lot of brats that used to come in and make a mess of the store when we were otherwise occupied. Plus, there were some tricycles that, even though they were tied so they couldn't be ridden, kids would try to ride it and invariably fall and potentially hurt themselves, and we didn't want to deal with liability cases. Even if we weren't at fault, if somebody filed a claim against us, corporate automatically would take $15,000 from our store profits to cover any medical or legal costs in case it went against us. The supervisor that came up with this unofficial policy, Mark, had seen it happen at the branch he used to work at multiple times. It's bound to happen, as in that region, parents like to let their kids do what they want and generally don't care what happens unless they think they can get money out of it. And decide. But since we weren't busy and could make sure he stayed out of trouble and ask him to leave if he became troublesome, we allowed him to stay. So I asked him if he's looking for anything in particular, would like to help him with anything, yada yada yada. He said that he's fine for now, so I straightened up a few things that he'd made slightly crooked. As I'd said before, it was a very slow day. At one point, after I'm back waiting by the register, I see him browsing our sparse selection of video games. He apparently found one that he likes and brings it to the register to pay. I'm about to scan it when I see that it's rated M. I told him that since it's rated M, I can't sell it to him. If his father or someone who has a valid ID showing they're at least 18 will come back with him, I could sell it to them. Now, for those who don't realize, there's no law that says rated M games can't be sold to minors. However, it would be impossible to find a brick-and-mortar store that would sell a rated M game to a minor due to restrictions that retailers put on themselves. Pretty much every retailer has that policy in place to protect themselves from lawsuits. You'd be surprised that before this happened, many cases were won against retailers for selling a rated M game to someone under 18, even though their parent was right there with them and knew what was being purchased. The kid then left the store, presumably to get someone to buy it for him. A few minutes passed and the boy comes back with an adult. The man looked very angry and stormed into the store. He marched up to the register and demanded to know why I didn't sell his son the video game. Me: I'm sorry, sir, but we're not allowed to sell rated M video games to minors. Even if I wanted to, the system wouldn't let me without swiping an ID that meets the over 18 requirement. F: I don't care. I gave my son money so he could buy something. What he chooses is his business, not your store's. Me: I understand if you'd like him to have the game, you can purchase it for him. F: Even if I did, it doesn't matter. As a customer, my son can buy whatever he has the money for. In my head, I'm wondering if he would try that line at a store that sells liquor and cigarettes. Me: At our store, he can buy anything on his own if he has the funds, except for the very few video games that are rated M. Most of our video games are purchasable by him on his own. He just happened to pick one of the only ones he needs an adult to buy for him. F: Get me your manager. I called Mark from the back. He happened to be on his lunch break at the time, which is why he wasn't at the front with me. Mark: Hello, sir. Can I help you? F: Yes. This incompetent young man refuses to sell my son this video game. Mark looks at the game and sees the rating. Mark: He's not being incompetent, sir. He's following store policy. If he sold your son this game, he'd have been fired. F: You make him sell my son this game. I'm a lawyer. I know my rights. You can't refuse a sale. Mark: If you'd like, you can go to the video game store just a few stores down and have your son buy the game from them if you don't believe us. Apparently the man thought it was a good idea and called his son, and they left, headed in the direction of the store Mark mentioned. About 15 minutes later, we see the man and his son heading towards our store again. The man crosses the threshold and yells out, F you guys! They wouldn't sell him the game either. You called them and told them not to sell it to him, didn't you? I'm going to call corporate for both your stores and get all of you fired. They'll fire you because I'll threaten to sue if not, and I'm a lawyer and I'd win. So your butts are toast either way. After he left, Mark and I just burst out laughing. I don't know if the guy was just an idiot who didn't want to be wrong and was trying to act intimidating, or if he was a lawyer in Mexico and laws concerning retail are different there. The mall's in a border city and much of the customers are from Mexico, so it's entirely possible he was serious. Must be quite a lawyer if he's unfamiliar with how a third-party sale works. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a janitor at a law firm or something like that. And our last story. New boss cost the company over $220,000. Back in the 1980s, I worked for a sporting goods company as a catalog designer. Small company, privately owned, I was the entire advertising department. I created 4 catalogs a year. These were responsible for most of our mail order sales, pre-internet, to the tune of around $700K a year. We sent the catalogs via bulk mail using a mailing service. This let us send them for a much discounted rate. To do this required the use of a bulk mail permit and placing the permit info on the mailing area of the catalog. Technically, it's called a fiche. Enter a new boss, call him Ron. I was number 1, the only one in my department. For some reason, the company owner hired Ron as a favor to a friend. From day 1, he was micromanaging, questioning everything, and screwing up my very tight schedule. This was before computers were common. Everything was by hand, literally typing out copy and reducing it on a photocopier to fit, developing the photo film myself, making prints, etc. The actual printer had to add screens to the photos so they print, burn metal plates, and so on. All time-consuming and expensive. Deadlines could not be missed, so I was stuck with several 16-hour days come crunch time. I was complaining to the owner, but he really couldn't care less. I really wanted to stick it to Ron, and the opportunity presented itself. Constant threats of my way or you're fired were getting to me. The latest pre-summer catalog was done. Summer was our big season. I had to give him my mock-up, photocopied sheet stapled together of the final catalog for his approval. a new step added after he demanded it. He looked at it and sent it back with several pointless revisions and a note to remove that ugly permit box because it was not needed. Where he worked previously stuffed their mailers in envelopes. The envelopes had the fiche, but their mailer did this last step. I simply asked him to initial the changes as this was the final approved version and was going to the printer the next day. There was no time to check it again, so he did. I knew it'd be a total mess and it's something I would never have done in the past. 50,000 catalogs printed and shipped directly to the mailer. The day they arrived at the mailer, the boss gets a call from the sales rep. "We can't mail your catalogs." Boss storms into my area of the building and is literally screaming. Ron's now pissed and yelling at me, joined by the boss. I swear, spittle and froth, vein bulging, screaming. Minimum 2-week delay, wasted money, lost sales. I explained what happened, the threat to fire me, and showed the owner the changes to the final copy, initialed by Ron. He was going to give Ron a second chance until the bill came in from the printer. They had to stamp 50,000 catalogs by hand. We had to rent their permit since that's what was on their stamp. Rental and labor was almost $8,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's $20,000. Plus our early summer sales boost was off by almost $50K from previous years, or $200,000 adjusted for inflation. Ron was fired. I was left alone after that. Never interrupt the enemy while he's making a mistake. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.